Hello, I am Tato Cat and welcome to my channel. Today we are playing the letter. Previously, we had a bit of vertigo of playing as Marianne after having a conversation with Hannah about the past and whether or not she should have gotten married and things like that. And then we learned about Marianne's past during this whole vertigo thing. She woke up and there was blood everywhere. It was like red rum, scary. And we learned about Amanda, Lorraine, blah, 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 and that she was kind of her love interest that never happened because Marianne didn't have the nerves to love someone of the same gender as her, and I guess things did not turn out well for Lorraine. And then she greeted us by trying to pull us through a mirror. You got to see me fumble around, trying to figure out that mini game that a child could have figured out. And then, after getting free, we huggles Hannah because she was there, and not a ghost. And blonde, apparently. And that's pretty much where I left off. Alright, let's continue. I wanted to cry, scream about what I have seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile with what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie. But a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my things.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it. That worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marian. Shaking my head of the thoughts, I drag in a breath, and then follow shortly after Miss Wright. Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past is long gone. Only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself much more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out and on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars, and Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It is the crunch of the grass under my heels that brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Well, it almost did.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
Also, I must say, I like the fact that they have like these trees way, way, way in the back over here.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job?
No.
I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
Nope. It's an evil house. Let's get out of there. I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there, or rather who I thought I saw there, because there's just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Mrs. Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it out, make excuses, say I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down. But for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner, I haven't let go of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead. It's something I've terribly missed. And now that it's here, almost within my arm's reach, my father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through with it. Consequences be damned. And well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no. At least, not something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Interesting, indeed.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
His house is going to
You
kill
were
us.
always determined like that, weren't you?
Yep, and she's still talking to us. This is not a good thing. Not at all. Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Anselm, I rode with them in silence. Marian examined the first floor upon arrival at the mansion. After a small talk with Hannah Wright, Marian headed for the study. There she saw a ghost from her past reflected in the mirror. Despite that, she gave her word that she would sit through the project until the end. From the mansion, I've read that already. But as soon as we hit city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them a good night. I thought it'd be best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have, shouldn't have, won't. I assure them that my place isn't that far off, and I have to fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own home, peace is elusive as I sleep. I lie awake, thinking of what I saw in that mansion, of who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much as see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens, and it makes me feel hollow. ... For 2 nights, I've had trouble sleeping, but it's only one morning, when fatigue has already let me rest, I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. In my restless dreams, I see that mirror, the one in the study, and in it, I see her. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Hannah and Lorraine.
Poor pathetic Marianne! Work, work, work! She'll to work herself to death.
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk amongst themselves, with cruel smiles and venomous tongues, or rather, to themselves. 2 heads, 1 body. A horrible mockery of these women, as if they were the one and the same.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
I must say, it is disturbing. When they say a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distressed.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ear, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It is only then they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn towards me, and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
Well, she's just like really stabbing Marion in the heart, isn't she? My breath hitches and I open my mouth to protest. But they stop me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across the surface.
Do not lie! We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid. And when it looks like they would lunge... Well, that was a creepy scene. I awake feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find certain fluff balls sitting on my chest, looking as pleased as Punch. Aw, kitty cat. She is the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction, of nice furniture. Though, I can't stay mad at Her Majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall Lee's terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots towards the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Morning before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving in the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet. It isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move, despite that. Rich people like them will always find ways to get what they want, after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party.
There's a Black Cat Day?
But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that before going back to her own food. Cats. Still, better than humans, most of the time. Too bad, I have to work with the humans. The place is already busy as soon as I get here. The foreman, the one that I've recommended to the Wrights for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing men here and there with the bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest.
Of course.
He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops looking up at the upper landing, where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers in the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it.
Ugh.
If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there. Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
Can you not mush human beings? Da da da, evil mirror. The movers bring down the mirror, one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see our reflection in the bloody thing. And I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what I'd do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now, and I'm not going to break down in front of all these people. As soon as I go into the kitchen, I realize I'm holding my breath. I let out a sigh of relief when I think nobody is looking and I go back to the task at hand. It'll be a terribly busy day, and there's no need for me to even think of anything else. I talk with the foreman, fill him in which room is which. It seems I'm doomed not to get any significant work done without being interrupted when it comes to these particular clients, however.
Marianne, dear, have you had breakfast yet?
Yes.
Well, I do believe it would be considered brunch at this hour.
Okay, go away.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Wright, I...
You must join me. Johans has already been breaking in the kitchen, as they say. I do not see the others settling down for a meal anytime soon. Someone might as well enjoy the food while it's hot.
Can you let us do our job, though?
And that someone might as well be us.
But, work. I should say no. I really must say no. But the way she smiles at me makes it difficult to do so. Look at how ridiculous I'm being, acting like a silly nervous schoolgirl with a crush. It's just brunch. And who am I to say no to a client? It would be impolite to do so. It's not like I'm going to agree because of anything other than propriety. I'm not agreeing just because she batted her pretty eyelashes at me.
If you insist.
It really isn't any of those. Thou protest too much, methinks. But it's something about her eyes, rather. She looks like she needs a good talk. A friend. And although I'm not supposed to be chummy with my client, there's no harm in pretending, right? Of course, I've been wrong on many occasions before. Maybe there's plenty harm in pretending that I care. Because pretending I care might lead to actually caring. Being alone in the same room as the missus leaves me reeling, as I find myself paying too much attention to her. It seems so borderline unhealthy, how much I'm getting obsessed, even if it is just by looking. And it's the little insignificant things that I notice, like the way she plays with her hair, or how she smooths down her dress.
Up, higher, come on now.
Whiskey's annoying voice in the other room helps pull me back to the ground. I'm just looking, aren't I? I know that someone like her wouldn't even look at someone like me. Still, there's some time to turn around this bad decision.
I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to breakfast, Mrs. Wright. But I already ate, so I should really go back to work.
Nonsense! You arrived so early, you must not have gotten a proper meal. Sit, sit! I'd situate us in the dining hall, but it is a mess right now.
Her concern is sweet, as is her smile. But I'm really not here for idle chit-chat, something I keep forgetting. We're both distracted when the food arrives, and it's enough for me to stay at least until the meal is over. No more, no less, just to be polite. Thankfully, the conversation steers into a topic I'm comfortable with, work. This goes on for a bit, and I can't be more relieved. Most people don't understand, calling me a workaholic, but I choose to work in a field I'm enthusiastic about. So, what if my career is also my hobby?
But no, really, how have you liked it so far?
Oh, it has been wonderful, believe me. Everything is going smoothly too.
Smoothly? Is that what you call evil mirror lady?
It has been a long time since I've worked on something on this grand a scale. Nowadays, everyone is about condos and flats, living in the city where every room is an identical box. Believe me, this is very refreshing.
We lived in a condo before this, Marianne.
Yes, I remember this conversation.
I didn't mean any insult.
It's fine, sweetie. Look at you, all frazzled. I was just pulling your leg. Luke wanted that penthouse when we got married, and you can thank him for purchasing this place as well.
Wait, doesn't she own the house? I'm pretty sure. I have no business with it, though. It's theirs to hash out. But apparently, the momentary confusion had been visible on my face.
Don't be fooled. I'm just the treasury. I wouldn't be able to make a purchase this grand without his seal of approval.
I see.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yes, what else is there to it? Without warning, this nice friendly chat has developed into something horrible. Something sad.
But I really don't know what to say, Mrs. Wright. We were talking of no topic in particular, and...
Luke. We were talking about Luke.
About him not eating breakfast with you?
About him treating me as if I were some treasury.
Yep. Despite my general dislike of the upper class, I sometimes feel pity for them. They may have all the money in the world, where material things aren't a problem, but they don't even see what they've become, where they've ended up, or what they've done most of the time. They're shut in by their own trap, forced to play along with society's expectations, and do anything to stay where they are, and to keep what they have. A world where even people feel or are treated like they are mere possessions. When someone is at the top, the only way for them to go is down. I've worked with many Hanas and Lukes and Whiskies, but I've never been one of them. I don't pretend to understand their world any deeper than that. I merely know what I've witnessed before. She looks lost, speechless at how she betrayed herself. My pity for the likes of her returns. Nothing but pity moves me as I speak before she can say anything else that might ruin our break here. That might ruin or break her.
I won't speak a word, Mrs. Wright. Not only am I contractually obliged to, it would also go against my principles. This is no one else's business but your own, and it should be kept between the two of you. And whoever you wish to seek counsel from.
Please, Marianne. You have to understand. These sort of affairs, if anyone were to know this, they could just twist it and we'll be ruined. All I ask for is your silence on the matter.
The way she practically begs me to keep quiet about it is disheartening. I have no plans of speaking about anything I hear, especially if it's about her private affairs. But the way she looks at me, the way she just expects some sort of fallout because of this, makes my heart clench.
Well, I'm keeping that information confidential as well.
It's not like I have any other choice, do I?
Thank you.
When the last of the food and drink is gone, the door opens as if on cue.
Madam, the photographer from Luxury Living is here.
This was a wonderful meal, Marianne. You're free to return to your duties.
I feel like this route is the one that touches the parts that we've already played through the most. Like, this whole conversation we already went through in the previous route. Whereas all the other ones are less connected, it feels like.
I must excuse myself.
It was my pleasure. And thank you for the food as well.
She stands to up and leave, and all I want to do is reassure her again, to prove that I am someone she can trust. So when she looks back my way, I didn't fight the smile that found its way on my face. I feel giddy, but the feeling dies down afterwards as I sober up. Oh well, back to work. Soon enough I find myself drawn to the kitchen, where the Wright butler has returned to. He's already claimed the space, and telling movers to back off, and no one dares to question his proclamation either.
My kitchen. No kinder allowed. Little men running around with knives especially. We do not want any accidents to happen now, do we? Good? Good.
Good. I mean, it is a knife-wielding German standing there. I don't think anybody would be insane enough to refuse his request.
I hope I meet the age restriction, or at least the height restriction, because I'm asking to be let in here.
You are allowed inside, McCulloch, but not the little ones.
A shake of my head and a roll of my eyes is all I give him. It's not like I'm going to be of any trouble to him. I just need to look around, get my bearings. The breakfast had been distraction enough. I don't even want to think about what we just talked about. I just need to get my head straight and get back to work. The movers work efficiently, even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head of foreman comes standing in the doorway to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then. But they pretty much have everything up to standard. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well, as the butler gets to heating up their leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast, and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the Wrights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts, as they are, preoccupy me.
If there are any left. One can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I really do hate getting so up close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It is obvious to me that I've got my priorities all wrong, and I can't help but think about what I heard, what I learned about the Wright couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted, and mocking. They creep up and the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arms causes me to freeze and hiss. And hiss? Did she go, is that what happened? That would be amusing if it did. Okay, we'll see what happens in the next scene, in the next episode. I am Tater Cat. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon.